So I got myself a new cooking toy. This kind of tool is called a smart or predictive meat thermometer. It claims to solve many meat doneness problems. How well does it work? And will it replace my trusty Thermapen? Well, let's find out. Full disclosure, I paid for this thermometer myself. This is not a sponsored video, so I can say whatever I want, what I love and what I hate. The brand I got is Typhur. I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly, but I did my best. Before we talk about this specific brand, let's talk about this type of thermometer in general and what problems it wants to solve for us. While your meat is cooking and while it is resting, there are all sorts of temperatures inside it. The outside is hotter, the center is cooler. A normal meat thermometer only measures the temperature in one spot. If you don't insert the tip smack into the very center of your meat, you'll get a very misleading reading. That's why I always tell you to fish around inside the meat to figure out where the coolest spot is. The smart thermometers claim they solve this problem. No fishing required. They have many different sensors in the probe. So instead of just measuring the temperature here, they're measuring it in 5 places and then reporting the minimum. The second problem people encounter with thermometers is missing the perfect moment when the meat is done. You know how it goes. You test the meat and it's not done, then you test it again and it's overdone. Here's how the wireless probes solve this problem. They are completely heat safe. You can put them in the oven, in the skillet, on the grill, so you are getting live updates constantly on how your meat is doing. You can tell this device the target temperature and it will beep when the meat is there. And of course, there is the temperature of the oven or the grill. What if your charcoal starts to cool off? Or what if your oven is not accurate? This thermometer has a sensor in the handle that reports the ambient temperature so that you are always up to date. Of course, this is all the marketing spiel. Now let's do some testing. To test this thermometer for accuracy, I got a cup of ice water. This should read 32 Fahrenheit. My Thermapen got there almost instantly. Typhur took 31 seconds, but it got within 1 degree in 8 seconds, which is not bad. When I tried the same thing with meat, it took a whole minute for the probe to report the temperature accurately. But it was within a couple of degrees very quickly. For a regular thermometer, this kind of response time is not good. But for a probe that is embedded in the meat, it's not bad. I mean, if I was using a regular thermometer, I'd need to get the meat out of the oven, insert the thermometer, and find the coolest spot. All of that would easily take 30 seconds. So the fact that Typhur is a bit slow is not a biggie. There is no perfect test of the oven sensor that I could do with my own equipment. Since it's measuring the air temperature, I can't just plunge it into ice water or boiling water. I mean, I can, but it wouldn't tell me the accuracy and responsiveness in the air. So I decided to compare it to the oven thermometer from Thermoworks called the Dot, which is the most reliable one I've ever had. The first Typhur probe and the Dot are sitting in my Wolf oven, and the second Typhur probe is sitting in my Breville oven. Both ovens are set to 250. According to the Dot, my Wolf oven is close to that. At the moment, the Dot is reporting 248, and Typhur is reporting 209. That's almost 40 degrees off, which is significant. I realize that oven thermometers take a long time to come up to temperature because air is a very poor conductor compared to a liquid. But this discrepancy between the Dot and the Typhur lasted for the whole 25 minutes that I was cooking. But But it's possible that the Typhur probe is indeed reporting the temperature accurately. Maybe its proximity to the meat is cooling it off. The meat is full of water, and as that water evaporates, it creates a cooling cloud around the meat. Well, either way, I didn't feel that Typhur could be trusted with the accuracy of your oven or grill, but it can be trusted with the accuracy of your meat. I've been cooking with this system for about a month now. At first, I was skeptical and kept checking the temperature with my Thermapen. At this point, I do trust it. For all practical purposes, it is accurate enough and very convenient. I would just suggest setting the alarm a few degrees lower than what you actually want. The fact that Typhur is a few degrees behind Thermapen is not a biggie. 2 degrees don't make or break your meat. The real reason is being lulled into a sense of complacency. When I set a timer myself and check the temperature myself, I know when I am getting close so that I can get ready for the next step in the recipe. In other words, I am paying attention. With a wireless probe, I am not as vigilant, and when the alarm goes off, I find myself scrambling to get to the next step. But now that I know that, I proactively set it for a lower temperature than I actually need. I love having 2 probes. This way I can monitor 2 steaks of different thickness. I love that the system does not require the use of my phone. If you want an app for your phone, Typhur has one, but it's not necessary. The wireless connectivity is fantastic. I can leave the probe in my grill outside and walk to the farthest corner of my house with this device and still get a reading. So generally, the system performs well. My biggest pet peeve with this device is how deep you need to insert it. This entire probe, all the way to this line, has to be embedded in the meat. It's practically impossible to use on a chicken thigh or a small beef tenderloin steak. They are plenty thick to need a thermometer, but not long enough for this probe. If you don't embed the whole probe, you'll get a completely wrong reading in some use cases. Here is why. It's possible that the coolest part of the probe will end up outside of your meat, and that's the temperature the probe will report. Here is an example. I have some water here at 120 degrees. If I don't submerge the probe all the way to the black line, the temperature it will report is the temperature of the air around the black line, because at the moment it's the coolest part of the probe. If you put the meat in the oven without inserting the probe deep enough, it might work because the temperature of the oven will be higher than the temperature of the meat. But if I want to monitor the residual heat as the meat is resting, this system will not work. It will report the room temperature instead of the internal temperature of the meat. Using this system for monitoring residual heat is somewhat problematic, even if you insert the entire probe all the way to the black line. As the meat cools, its outside might eventually end up cooler than the inside. It would be great if it could report the temperature from each sensor individually, but I couldn't figure out a way to do that. If you know how, let me know. Okay, so here's an update. One of my viewers saw me use this probe in my pork tenderloin video and told me that there was a way to see the temperature of each sensor. It's in the app. It took me a long time, but I finally found it. You need to click on this little icon and then click on Professional. I already finished making this video, but I'll try to paste this in. Another thing I don't love is the thickness of the probe. The hole it leaves in the meat is somewhat noticeable. So, can this replace your regular thermometer? No way. What if you have to take the temperature of your ingredients for baking? Or what if your piece of meat is not big enough? There are way too many use cases that Typhur doesn't cover. if you don't have a thermometer yet, I would get a Thermapen if you want to spend around 100, or a Thermopop if you want to spend around 40. The difference between them is response time. Thermapen is 3 seconds and Thermopop is 6, but that's according to the specs. In reality, they're both lightning fast. Am I glad to get this wireless system? I'm not sure. I got it out of curiosity because it's my job to keep up with cooking gadgets. Because I have a lot of cooking intuition, its features are not as useful to me as they might be to a beginner cook. I have a good idea when it's time to test the meat for doneness. If you're starting out with cooking, having this kind of probe might offer more value. But as a beginner cook, are you really going to spend $100 on a regular thermometer and another $150 on this wireless system? I'm not so sure. There are many systems of the sort out on the market right now. I'm curious to hear if you have one of them and how it compares to this one. What do you like and dislike about the system that you have? One of the reasons I like making these videos is that I learn as much from you as you learn from me. The links for all my thermometers are in the description below. Here are more thought-provoking culinary videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.